What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Nightmare Chess. We are currently going through a series challenging the bots on chess.com. We are challenging a couple more bots in the intermediate, and then we're going to move on to the advanced. And today we are challenging Ali from Indonesia. So let's go ahead and get the game started. And we're playing as white. E4. Let's take over the center. And we will defend the e4 pawn. Let's take back. And now I think I will bring out the bishop to defend the knight. I probably missed this move right off the bat. And even if I brought the knight out, this bishop is going to pin. So let's push it back, and then we'll defend it. All right. We can just take the knight back with the bishop. And bishop still has to move. Now our queen's watching the d4 pawn. We can go for a trade. I take the bishop. They take my bishop. If I retreat, then the queen comes down to take the d4 pawn. I can also bring the knight to defend this pawn, which would lose our bishop. So I guess we'll just go for the trade. Let's defend the pawn. Well, it's defended already, but let's add a second defender. I can take and offer the trade because I'd be one pawn up. I know that's not enough to start offering trades. Maybe I just defend? I think we're okay here. Another attacker there. Let's develop the knight, and then we'll try to attack with the rook. Although there's a check here. But if I bring this pawn up, then the queen would probably just take this free pawn there. And I can just bring one pawn up to defend, and if there's a check, then I can bring the bishop back. Let me think here. Yeah, I don't really want to lose these pawns. And I think I'll take with the knight, perhaps. Let me think here. Can also take with the queen and start offering the trade. Although I am not up a pawn anymore, it would basically just be even right now. That's castle, I think. Then we'll go for an attack on the queen. Okay, so trying to get some X-ray vision here. Knight can move here or here. But let's try to attack the queen. See what happens. Okay, and he goes for the trade. Now, should I take with the knight, the bishop, the pawn, or the rook? There's so many options there. I'm thinking about where the knight could go if I were to take with the knight. Can probably go here, aiming to attack the rook. Rook would just move away. Maybe strike here. If I take with the bishop, there's this diagonal. The rook could just move over. And if I take with the rook, then I keep the X-ray vision. I think I'll just take with the knight. Play it safe, I guess. So there's a few things I can do here. I can, can go for an attack on the knight. I can also, what I'm thinking of doing is bringing the knight to f5 to attack the bishop and the g7 pawn. And, if he decides to take the rook, then we can just trade. This also reveals an attack on the knight. So I think I'll take the bishop and then I'll take the knight. All right. So he blocks the attack, being able to take the knight. So, I don't have a choice but to move. Do I move here? Let's see. Let's give a check. So I need to slide these rooks out. And that knight's slightly annoying because there's nothing to remove it, so it's going to remain there for the rest of the game. So I think I'll bring the rook up, and I'll have to try to slide it to e2 and strike. Let's tuck the bishop away. And I think I'll just move the pawn up. I don't want to trade because then that opens up potential to attack the bishop. Now let's try to strike in the center. Blocks the attack. And I can try to push the knight away again. Or offer a trade. Let's attack the knight. And now the knight doesn't have the defender. And now I can probably try to double up the rooks and strike the knight. Although the rook, black's rook does have the d5 square defended by the pawn. And then I can probably bring the bishop back to add a third attacker. And if this pawn comes, I'll take the knight. All right, I'll take with the bishop. Try to keep as many pieces as we can for now. Because we're not completely winning just yet. Let's defend this pawn and the bishop together. And I have to start getting rid of some pieces so that we can try to get a pawn to the end and promote somehow. And I think I'll defend this pawn. There's this next move. I take back, takes, and I'm going to have to move back. But let's see. If I bring this here, down, takes. Okay, I still have to move the bishop back. So I guess we'll just take a pawn. And now I can actually bring this rook down to a5 to threaten the pin here. If the bishop takes, then I take black's rook. Now I can defend, or I can just come with another check. And if the king just moves up, maybe I'll just defend. We'll take. Now, if I just go for the trades here, I do think I have the faster moves to promote. King has to get, all around here somehow, try to get to these pawns. So I think we will go for the trade. And now rook's going to try to come down to the 7th and start striking. And I don't want that. So I'm going to come, let me think here. If I go down to the 7th rank, the rook will come down to strike here. In that case, I can bring this pawn up. And if the rook comes down, then I'll offer the trade again. Now we can march up, I believe. And at some point, I'll have to try to tuck the rook behind the pawn so I can get it all the way to the 8th rank and promote. Should I? Thinking whether I should come behind it or away from it. For now, I'll just go behind it. Hopefully I don't get stuck. And here comes the king. Let's push. Come to the side. Push again. Threaten the rook to move away. And now we'll just promote. And we're up a rook. Let's try to promote this last pawn. Yeah, I don't think the king has any moves here. Now I just got to make sure I don't stalemate. Let's see. He can just run back. So I'll just come down like this. Here. Try to get as close as possible. Let's see. Let me think. If I move the rook up, blocking this runaway square, and then I just need to move this, and then that's game. However, no, it's not game. If I move the rook up, then king can take the pawn. Probably not the best move, I know, guys. Let's see. Just gonna have to move around a little until I figure out what the move is here. I think that's checkmate. Whoops. Another whoops. Where are you, checkmate? Where are you? Oh, man. So I told you guys in a few earlier videos that I'm not the best with checkmates, and now you're seeing it. It is apparent. And still not checkmate. Is it this? No, because then king just takes. And if the king takes, then I just move one square. All right, well, for some reason, the longest part of these games are always the end game when I'm trying to checkmate. All right, let's play one more game as black. Here we go. Let's bring out the knight. Queen's pawn opening. Let's defend. I'm tempted to just come to b4 and pin the knight. Then this bishop just develops. So maybe first I'll bring this pawn to c5. And then I'll use the... Should I use the... I mean, if I take with the pawn, then the king's kind of exposed, but there's really nothing there immediately to strike. So, do I take with this pawn? Take. Then this pawn moves. Take. I'm more tempted to take with the knight and then see if I can develop somehow after taking this pawn. Should I just play solid? We'll try it. This isn't usually a move order that I do, so not sure how I'm gonna do here. I think I'll develop the knight. Pawn is defended by the bishop. I think I'm going to defend the knight. Again, if I bring the bishop here, then, I mean, the king's one move away from castling. Let me think. If I move here, then there's this. Hold on. Yeah, here, this takes. Then there's that check, and then fork with the rook. Sorry, this. Here and here. So maybe I'll take first. What happens if I move here? Takes. Takes. At least I'll have another defender here, because right now there's two attackers on this pawn and just one defender. So maybe I move the bishop here. I hope that's not a blunder. Here, bishop takes, bring the pawn out. That's another defender. Opens the b file to slide the rook over. And now I want to castle. However, if I castle and I'm on g8, then white has this move. Pinning this. I can go for this. Knight will take. I'll take back. Maybe this is the better option. Well, if I move here, the queen still has this move, and that's... Maybe I just move the king over. I mean, I lose castling rights, though. And what happens if I move the knight here? Usually, queen would just move down one square and threatening my knight. My knight would not be good there. I guess I'm gonna move the king over one square. Now what happens if I go for a attack against the queen? She'll just move over. Then I can maybe try some kind of battery, although I still don't think it'll do much. And I'm wondering if this trade favors white instead of black. So then I have to take back. I'm trying to decide which piece I should attack the queen with. I think I'm going to go for this attack and then see if I can create a battery. And probably, if I move here, it takes. That doesn't work. If I move here, bishop takes. I can't take back. However, I mean, now might be a good option to go here, but then there's just the trade. That doesn't work. Or if I move here, I kind of fork the bishop and queen. And even if the queen moves away, I can strike the bishop. But if I move here, yeah, because if the bishop... Oh, that's a check, though, is the problem. So I'm going to have to take, I think. Maybe I try to move the rook and just... All I have to do is be aware of this. Try to strike here. Trying to think of other options here. Again, I'm just not sure if this trade favors white or black, so I'm kind of hesitant to make the trade. And right now, I'm not up any pieces. We're tied. Exactly. 2 pawns, 2 bishops, and a knight. Kind of got my rook stuck. I'm thinking, what if I, at some point, bring this pawn up, tuck the king away, and then bring this rook out? Is that any good? And should I do it now, is the question. I think I will, just to try to improve the position and put the rook on the open file. Oh, man. Didn't see that. Oof. Should I try to run this way? So if I come here, I mean, at that point, everything is going to be stuck. Going for this. Where is he planning to... I'm not sure where he's planning to sit, but I think here I can just threaten the queen, and we'll probably go through some trades. Now again, I can park the knight here. Takes, takes, and then there's 2 attackers there. Maybe first I'll go for a trade. I think I'm going to move the queen to c7. Make sure nothing's attacking the knight, because I am leaving it undefended for a second. The question is, can the queen check forking the knight and my king at the same time? I don't think so. Well, there's this. That's a check, and that forks this pawn and my king at the same time. Should I move away? And there's the fork. No, I don't see the fork just yet. She's not attacking the queen, or the knight, sorry. Should I go for a trade? Maybe I go for a trade. And then do I go for one more trade? Or should I try to take a few pawns before I trade pieces? Let's see. Yeah, right now we're still tied. I'm not up any pieces. Maybe plans of this, I think. Let's try to remove the defender of the knight. And then plans of this on the next move. I can move away at that point. Knight will be dancing around. Now, if I move here, then there's again. If I take, or if I move here and the knight takes, I take back, then I lose a pawn. I can tuck the knight under the king, but then I have no real squares to move to. Knight starts making maneuvers on this end. Maybe I'll move here first. Let me think. I think so. Now do I go for the trade? I can just move down to b4 as well and threaten to take either of these pawns. I think the idea is this, and then there's nothing defending that pawn. That's not good. I'm thinking of moving the knight away because I'll probably lose some pawns. I'll take... Let me see. Oh, I don't have that check just yet. Should I threaten to move the knight away and then maybe attack one of these three pieces? Let me see here. Like maybe there. Defending this pawn. I'll just take the middle pawn first. Okay. Let me be careful here. Make sure the knight doesn't have a check. Now I can offer a trade of knights. Bring the knight out to attack. Oh, no. Sorry. Speaking crazy right now. I would just lose my rook. Let's see. If I had a check, that'd be great, but I think I'm just going to have to take this pawn and just try to march some of my pawns up the board. If I bring this pawn up, then there's just this attack. Although I can take this. I think now I can try to go for the trade. And I am going to lose this pawn, but I'm trying to take this knight and try to march some pawns up the board. Check. Comes down. Then I have no more checks, and then my rook would be attacked. This is a check. This square is defended. Is it a good move, though? I don't know. I think I'm going to threaten the knight. Just trying to make sure there's no fork here. Knight can come here with a check. I don't know that it does much. He can also come here with a check. Maybe I move my king out the way first to avoid any checks. And if the knight moves here, then I have that. Okay, and he sacrifices the knight to try to gain some pieces. I'll just go here with plans of relocating the knight, maybe striking this pawn. And the rook is concerned with the march of this pawn. as he should be. Check, and then maybe somewhere here. Let me think there. You can go for the threat of the rook and then strike that pawn. So all my pawns, well, I was going to say were defended, but this one's not. But we're just going to keep trying to march up, see if we can get there. And if I bring the pawn, takes, promote, rook takes here, and then the game's over. We'll try it. All right, trying to get close to this pawn so that I can't take it once the rook takes my promoted queen. So I'll just move away. It's going to give a check, and I'll just run away. Oh, well, that's embarrassing. Just lost the pawn. So now we'll have to march this pawn up. Oh, man. Sacrifice the rook. Now the question is, can I save a pawn? And can I get there before white's last pawn? Now we take. All right, that was another close one. It seems like I struggle a lot more playing as black. I don't know if that's all your guys' experience. Let me know if it's a little harder for you to play as black. And there it is, guys. We took Ali down. Bots are getting stronger. Rated 1400. And let's go ahead and see who our next challenger will be for our next video. All right, we're one bot away from moving on to the advanced bots. Our next challenger will be Mateo. We will be facing him in our next video. If we beat him as white and black, then we will move on to the advanced bots. And our challenger at that point would be Wendy. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.